Hi friends, welcome to Creative DIY Purpose. This week we're going to be taking some common thrifted items and turning them into beautiful fall decor. Our first thrifted item today is this glass vase, and I'm going to paint it with 2 coats of DIY paint in cake batter. The shape and design of this vase reminds me of the vintage Fenton melon vases, and it kind of reminded me of a pumpkin, so we're going to go with that since it's almost fall. Now that both coats of paint have dried, I cut this piece of styrofoam in 2 just so it would fit into this vase. Someone had given the styrofoam to me to reuse, so I was happy to have it on hand. I had some pieces of greenery that I tucked in to the styrofoam, and then I wrapped some Spanish moss around the rim of the vase, but I will wait to glue that on. I want to add a few more things inside. I had some small twigs from our pine tree from a couple years ago, and I wrapped them in a bundle and tied them with some jute twine. Next, I have a few strands of pit berries that I had on a floral pick. I'm tying them around in a circle, but I'm going to leave an end stem so that way I can tuck it in to the styrofoam. Decided that it needed a little something more, so I added hot glue onto 2 mini pine cones and an acorn. Now I'm going around the edges and adding the hot glue to the Spanish moss and tucking that all in. So I decided right at the end that it needed a little antiquing wax. So I'm applying a watered down version of that with a thin, small brush, just right down the edges. And then I took a larger brush, dipped in water to wipe some of that back. I took some twine, wrapped it twice around the neck. I just need to apply some spray sealer to the vase, and I think we're all set. What do you guys think of this one? Item number 2 is a photo frame. I think one of the most inexpensive ways to create beautiful home decor for virtually free is to upcycle a picture frame. So today we're going to take this common thrifted item and turn it into beautiful fall decor. After I cleaned the photo frame with some rubbing alcohol, I went over to Canva.com, created a custom design using all their elements and the text that they have available, printed it out on regular paper, and this piece was completely done in just a few minutes. I will be posting a video over on my Canva design channel this week on exactly how I created this picture. I will pin in the comment section the link for my other channel as well as my link so that you can get Canva for yourself and start creating everything from DIY transfers to gift tags, holiday cards, or simple pictures like this one. Item number 3 is a vintage grater, and I love picking these up at yard sales because they really can turn into beautiful home decor. Here I am taking the handle off of one of those Walmart bags. It's just a natural piece of raffia. I'm unraveling it and going to cut a small dovetail out on the bottom, clip it on. I have some more of the pit berries. Figured the best way to join the 2 together is to wrap them both with some twine and then tie a knot in the twine. The pit berries were part of a pick, so it still has the wire attached. So I bent that in half and just slid it right on the side of the grater. That way it can be removed and replaced with something else. I've sold a couple of these online. Here's some photos of one that sold and a couple of different ways that you can display them. I have 2 more that I'll be adding online for sale this week. I decided it needed something right in the middle, so I hot glue on a small pine cone. The colors in the pit berry and the pine cone, this can go for fall and winter season. If you like using common household items around your home to decorate and not have to buy new, I will post a video on the end of this one of some ideas for the upcoming holidays. But they will also inspire you to use items you already have on hand to create beautiful home decor throughout the year. Item number 4 is not a thrifted item, but you might have some thrifted books on hand or even some magazines. For this project, we're going to make some book pumpkins. I have some of the Daily Word books that expired from last quarter, and these work perfect for this size of project. The first thing that I'm doing is using a piece of cardstock and cutting out half of the shape of a pumpkin. One of the things that you want to keep in mind when you're cutting out your pattern is to try to keep the bottom of the pumpkin flat, and this will help give your book pumpkin a little bit more stability when you're done. Here are some of the items that you're going to need. I find that it's a lot easier to use a paintbrush to apply the glue. That way you get less wrinkles and bumps. Next, you just trace out your pattern and cut your pages. And it really didn't take as long as I thought. I used 3 of these books. When it's your first time making these, you're just going to have to play it by ear to decide how many book pages you need. It's going to depend on the height of the pumpkin that you'd like, as well as how full you like it. Another tip that I can give is to kind of crunch the pages like I'm doing here. Don't worry, it won't look like a wrinkled mess when you're done, but this is going to help so that the book pages don't all stick together, and it's going to help it to look evenly full. Another tip I'd like to share is to try to apply the glue on using a paintbrush. This will help so that you get full, even coverage. Another tip is to rip off the paper cover and only work with the book pages. This is going to help make your pumpkin look a lot more even. Also, when applying the glue, I found that it helps if you move from the center point out toward the edges. I laid each book down flat, applied glue, pressed down, and then fluffed up the edges. It is best to let it dry in the standing position, but first I want to go through and fluff out more of the pages. I missed some when I was doing it earlier. And you may have to do it a few times in order to get the fullness in your pumpkin that you'd like. I found that it's easier at this point, as you are trying to get it all full, to have it stand up. I also found that it's best to let it dry while it's standing up. It helps to retain the shape a lot better. This is the same process that I used last year when I made book Christmas trees. So that's how I kind of learned these little tips. I added some antiquing wax to that knob, but first I'm going to use that watered down antique wax for this next pumpkin that I'm doing, and I'm going to go around the edges. You could spray paint the edges of your pumpkin, or even apply some coffee or tea to stain the edges. Give it a nice aged look. Next, I'm applying the antique wax to that wooden knob for the other pumpkin and wiping it back. And now that the edges have had a chance to dry, I will go and glue all 3 of these books together. Okay, so now I want to make the tendrils on the top of the pumpkin, and that's the bag handle. I use those a lot because I repurpose brown paper bags so much. And all I did was loosen it up a little bit, wrap it around that pencil, tacked it on with some of the clothespins, and let it sit there for a while. You can add spray starch, or you can also add water and let it dry to get a tighter curl. Now for the next tendril, I'll use some twine, attach it with some clothespins, and spray some of the spray starch. Now that spray starch has got to be like 10 years old. I've had the same can for forever. I don't even know if they make that brand anymore, but it works. And you can speed that process up by letting it dry outside or by using a hair dryer. So I'm going to let that one tendril dry outside. Let's apply our little embellishments to our first pumpkin. I took some of these grapevines, I applied some antiquing wax and wiped it back. Just try to get it the shade of green that I was looking for. I'm going to attach the tendril and the leaf on with some hot glue, but for the stem, I will apply it with E6000. All right, so now that pumpkin's been put aside and we're gonna work on the next one. Spray starch washes right off of the pencil, but I think that came out pretty cool. So project number 5 is an item you may have. I love crafting with pine cones, It's something so simple. You can leave them natural, or here we're going to applying a pop of color using the cake batter color from DIY Paint. Applying paint just on the outside and brushing downward. These are Eastern white pine cones, and I will have some available on my shop this week for sale. And you can pick natural to craft with or painted. And these look great as a bowl filler or used for decoration. This is a super easy project. It's even fun for kids to do. And I'll post a link above over to my blog where I have several different ideas on ways you can use pine cones in your home decor. This project is this little glass bird. I'm going to apply 2 coats of the cake batter color to them. I believe I picked up 3 or 4 more, so you'll be seeing them in a future video done differently. Let me know if you also never pass up an opportunity to bring home a bird or love crafting with them as much as I do. While the paint was drying, I went over to canva.com and added some of the elements, printed that out on tissue paper, so we can make our own paper de decoupage. I love creating my own DIY transfers. I know some of you do as well. It's budget friendly, and you can compile any design that you want to and print it out. Or if you're new to my channel, welcome. And if you'd like more information on how to create your own transfers or what that even is, I will post that video for you right after this one. Applying the tissue paper onto the bird using Mod Podge, and then applying a thin coat of it up over the top of the tissue paper. Once that's had a chance to dry, I applied some of the antiquing wax to the whole entire piece. Here I am wiping it back. And I love how it brought out a lot of the texture in the paint and in the wrinkles from the decoupage. Let me know what you guys think of this one. Or let me know if you'd like to see more of a tutorial on how to make your own decoupage paper. Here are the links to the videos that I mentioned during this one. The one on the left is the DIY transfers, and the one on the right will give you some more ideas on ways that you can use common household items to create beautiful holiday decor. I'd like to invite you to follow me over on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, or over on the community tab right here on YouTube. Friends, God bless you for spending this time with me. Have a super blessed week, and I'll see you here next Sunday.